It has been 16 long months since the train derailment and massive chemical spill in East Palestine, Ohio. Now, when this situation took place, I covered this story extensively for weeks, for even months after it happened. But now here we are, 16 months later, and there are still so many unanswered questions. There are still so many unsolved problems in the area. You can still go to some of the creeks out in East Palestine, Ohio, and see the chemicals in the water. But slowly more details are starting to trickle out. And some of the latest details coming out and some of the latest data that has been released will absolutely shock you, folks. It turns out that this situation, we knew it was bad. I never tried to downplay how bad the situation was on my channel. In fact, I exposed how bad the situation was. As the mainstream media tried to, they were trying to tiptoe on the line. They wanted to report things, but they also wanted to protect certain organizations and certain people. But there was something off about this whole story to begin with. But even though I was trying to expose the truth about this train derailment, there were so many details that I didn't know. And I don't have access to all of these studies and all of this data and all of the testing that they're doing to the air quality and the soil and the water. But now we know a little bit more, and it's just so much worse than I could have possibly imagined. You see, the whole time I'm covering this story, we're all looking into this story, and we're feeling so bad for the people of East Palestine, Ohio. We're feeling so bad for the people of East Palestine, Ohio, and how they've been affected by this train derailment. But little did we know that so many more people were being affected, and they just never told us. We never knew. Folks, the latest information that came out literally states that over 14% of America was affected by the chemicals that they burned off into the air that day. 14% of America. Let that kick in. We're sitting here thinking about the hundreds or maybe the couple of thousand people that lived in this area and close to this area. But it turns out 14% of America was affected. Folks, when they did that controlled burn of the chemicals and we watched those chemicals spread into the sky in that black, thick smoke, I knew that these chemicals were going to spread far and wide. They would settle into the soil. They would settle into the water and other surrounding areas. People would be breathing these toxins in. It turns out that these chemicals, these toxins, spread across 16 states, ladies and gentlemen. We were sitting here thinking, the whole time I was thinking, damn, East Palestine is never going to be the same. And, some of these surrounding counties and little towns, man, they're going to be affected. Folks, 16 states. Chances are, a lot of you watching this video right now have been breathing in air that was tainted with the toxins from the train derailment and you didn't even know it. Folks, not only 16 states, but portions of Canada as well were affected by these chemicals settling in the soil, settling in the water. You're breathing it in the air. Now, I'm not saying you're going to go outside right now and take a deep breath and there will still be the chemicals from the East Palestine train derailment. But at one point, you all, if you're living within these 16 states, chances are you were breathing this stuff in, maybe drinking it in your water, exposing yourself. You were exposed to this in some sort of way. And that is scary. Because I could have never imagined that it was this bad. But I'm going to go ahead and roll this news clip, and then I'm going to be right back with more thoughts.
All right, you maybe are not interested in the East Palestine train derailment disaster anymore, but the chemicals from that disaster might be interested in you, so pay attention. It's been 16 months since the fiery crash devastated the small Ohio village near the Pennsylvania border. The disaster sent the train's cargo of vinyl chloride into the air, the water, and the soil. The community is still cleaning up today, and residents continue to face inexplicable health issues. Tests show that the chemicals are still lingering in the community, and now for the first time, there's research that shows just how far those toxins spread once they were set on fire. News Nation's investigative correspondent Rich McHugh's been on this story from the very start and joins us now live. Rich, I'm afraid to find out how far those chemicals may have spread. What have you learned?
Hi, Elizabeth. Well, the toxins spread to 16 states, over 500,000 square miles from the Midwest to the East Coast, where a third of our population resides. The headline here is that a lot more people were affected than we previously thought. Take a look. When officials burned 116,000 gallons of toxic vinyl chloride over East Palestine, the mushroom cloud smothered the entire region, turning the sky black, terrifying residents.
You ready? I'm ready. Let's get out of here.
A local hazmat official had this warning.
We basically nuked a town with chemicals so we could get a railroad open.
Now, new data proving their concerns were valid and just how far these toxins spread.
Most people don't realize how big this fire was and how far the impacts went. And we measured it over 16 different states.
16 states, from Wisconsin to North Carolina and up to Maine, not to mention Canada. David Gay with the National Atmospheric Deposition Program says the program has about 260 sites across the U.S. collecting rain and snow samples. He detected alarming levels of chloride, a direct result of burning all that vinyl chloride.
These were some of the highest, if not the highest, we had seen in the last 12 years. That fire touched a lot of points in the Midwest and the Northeast. We're all breathing the same atmosphere. That's a take-home story.
Just to put this in context, Elizabeth, I asked him, give me context for how big of an event this was. He said the last time we saw readings this high were in 2011 when the fire in Fukushima, Japan's Fukushima disaster. A week later, that all traveled here to the United States. That's how bad this is.
And that chloride in the atmosphere, how dangerous is that to people?
Well, he's not qualifying that. He's saying we can't talk about how this is possibly going to affect human life or how dangerous it is, but it is a direct result of the vinyl chloride. So they know that the chloride detected in all 16 of these states is from the vinyl chloride burned there.
And we're all exposed to it who live in the Northeast.
Yep.
My gosh, what does the EPA say about this report, Rich?
The EPA hasn't said anything yet. I just read something. They say they're reviewing it. You know, it makes you wonder, where is the EPA on this whole thing? From the beginning, they did not try and stop this burn, and here they are. This is data that should be coming from the EPA, Elizabeth.
Yeah, not let's go to the EPA to get a reaction. All right. Rich McHugh, great reporting. Stay on the story for us.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it.
Folks, you have to forgive me because I'm almost at a loss for words here. Because I don't know how long you all have been subbed to my channel. But this is a story that I was really passionate about. I talked about it a lot. We exposed a lot of weird things, including some predictive programming, some weird, medical type experiment type stuff that was going on right before the train derailment. But never, this changes everything that I thought I knew, because I thought I knew how bad it was, and I knew it was way bad. It was way worse than what they explained, but I didn't know it was on this level. I didn't even know a train could derail in East Palestine, Ohio, and half of America be affected by it. I didn't realize that these chemicals, I realized that they would spread. I didn't realize that they would spread to a whole nother country, that 16 different states would be affected. And ladies and gentlemen, really think about this. This was supposedly an accident, folks. This is supposedly an accident. And one little train derailment in one little town that you never heard of has the potential to contaminate almost half of America. A significant portion of America. I didn't know that things would be that bad. And now it's like you're just thinking about all of these other trains that are just, they're all over the place, zooming on by with all of these dangerous chemicals. The railways are breaking down, trains are derailing left and right. And it's like, we're like 2 train derailments away from the entire America being contaminated. You know what I mean? And this is a random accident. Think about like a biological attack or something like that from one of our enemies. You know what I mean? Think about how bad that would be. But as of right now, like I said, this changes everything, or at least it changes a lot of what I thought I knew. And I'm going to try to dive into some more of the information that's trickling out here, because I didn't think we would get too much more about this story. I knew that eventually details would come out. I didn't know it would be this soon, even though I know 16 months is a long time. But listen, there's information about this story that I don't think we'll find out about until 50 years from now. This is one of those stories where they trickle out certain information, but there's definitely it's some sort of cover-up. There's a tad bit of cover-up going on here. And, I mean, you already know how those things go. But for now, let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.